What is going on, guys? Matt here. So today we're looking at the cold steel Espada, not the polished aluminum, polished G10 version, as you can see, but the kind of more base, the light version, as you could kind of say, the basic version of the Espada with a solid G10 handle, stonewash finish blade, and a different steel. And we'll kind of get into that versus the other version. Really cool knife. And obviously a lot of the points I talked about in my Espada video, when I reviewed the polished G10 aluminum one, they're going to be similar, right? There's just going to be a lot of overlap with this stuff, but this is really a different knife, even though it's also the Espada. There's a lot of kind of uniqueness to it in contrast to this blade. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the specs. We're going to talk about what I like, what I dislike, and something unique. But first, let's do some size comparisons real quick. So let's compare it to a knife you guys probably know the size of. As you can see, this is a mini grip NS30V. As you can see, yeah, that's a little bit bigger, right? Yeah, if you close this thing, it more than easily fits in that blade, right? That's kind of crazy, huh? And this is, this is a 3-inch blade. It's not a teeny knife. So you can see how large this thing is. Let's compare it to a kind of similar style blade, a tactical folder, the Cold Steel Spartan. You can see the similarity. Both got that stone washing on there. Really nicely done on that stone washing. Really quite pretty. By the way, I do have to make a correction. I said that stone washing causes blades to rust easier. That's bead blasting. Stone washing actually prevents it from rusting. So, yeah, similar size, but about an inch longer on that blade, and obviously quite a bit longer on that handle too. All right, and let's compare it to, it's not really that similar, but I'll compare it anyway. No, I'm just kidding. It's also the Espada, right? Same profile, but you can kind of see the contrast in the two kind of handle materials right there. Sorry, hit the camera. And then the blade finishing. So stone washing, obviously, and that's just kind of a standard satin finish. Okay, let's get into the specs on the Cold Steel Espada G10 AUS-10 version. So, like I said, it's AUS-10A, not S35 on this, and that is the new Cold Steel logo after being bought by GSM. So AUS-10A steel. This blade is 5.5 inches. It has the thumb plate opener, which will grab on your pants or shorts or whatever you're wearing and pull out as you pull it out of your pocket. 3.7 millimeters thick. It is 5.5 inch long blade on that. Handle is 6 3/4 inches long, quite a long blade, or quite a long handle rather. And it is made of solid G10, no liners. Very common for Cold Steel's G10. Usually they just have G10 there because it's a very strong material. It has the triad locking mechanism, and if you're gonna pick these up, they go for around 100 to 120 bucks, just depending on kind of where you're looking. So it's about half of what the kind of full-on S30 polished Espada is looking like. So guys, let's get into what I like about the Cold Steel Espada AUS-10 G10 version. So obviously, a lot of these points are going to be similar, so you might want to skip past kind of to the end, just whatever you want to do. But what I like is, look at this blade. I mean, this is just Cold Steel's, this is like their flagship big folder. They make an even bigger version of this thing, a 7.5 inch long blade. And I just think it's fantastic how large it is, how crazy it is, but how well made it is. And I talked about that in the first Espada video as well. A lot of these kind of Mall Ninja kind of over-the-top knives, they're not well made, but Cold Steel, they do them well. They model them beautifully. Quality materials, fit and finish very good. All the materials are fantastic, and for a big folder, kind of an over-top folder, to have this, I think that's just fantastic. I think that's awesome. Okay, another thing I love about this, and it probably does better than the polished version, we'll kind of get these both on table for a second, is the comfortability. Now, this is very comfortable in hand, right? This is very comfortable. There's not any hot spots. It's a very comfortable blade. And so they're probably equally as comfortable, but what I will say with this is when I'm holding this blade, I feel more in control of it. One, because it's a little bit lighter, and we'll talk about that kind of in comparison in a second. But two, because the traction on that G10, while they have taken down their traction quite a bit, it's still more tractionable than something like this. Now, you still have plenty of traction on this just because of how well it locks into your hands with those finger grooves, but you just feel like you have more control over this. So very comfortable, and it gives kind of the user a bit more confidence. Let me know if you guys feel the same way, if you've handled both of these knives, and if you feel the same way. I just feel a little bit more confident when holding this, when deploying this, than I do with this. Objectively, this is way cooler, way prettier, and way more awesome, right? Not everything's about practicality when it comes to knives. We all know that. But I do quite like that the G10 AUS-10 version gives you a little bit more confidence and comfortability with that handle. The profile of this blade, I think, is just fantastic as well. Espada is sword in Spanish, and so I guess it's kind of got I can't think of a sword it would be modeled after. It's kind of scimitar-like, to be honest. People could say saber, but this doesn't really have a profile of a saber, aside from the curve, I guess you could say that. If you took away that clip, right here, kind of has a saber-esque profile, I guess you could say. Anyway, I just love the profile of this blade. I think it's beautiful. That stonewashing is awesome. That nice clipped point, they call it a clip point. It feels almost trailing point, but it's not quite there, I guess. I just love this blade. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and it's functional. You know, this along more so than the polished aluminum in G10 version, there's just a functionality to it, even though it's enormous, obviously, but it only weighs 9 ounces. If you don't want to carry a fixed blade when you're in the woods, or if you just don't want to carry a fixed blade, but you want kind of the length and the capabilities of a fixed blade, this is kind of a great option. With you choking back, you're getting probably 9 inches of reach. Could do some very, very light hacking with it, small branches in your way, if you're on a trail or something like that. And then, I know, again, I talked about this, and this is crazy, but this profile is fantastic for skinning. I haven't used it, obviously, but I know enough. I've skinned enough things, and I've used knives plenty in my life to know that belly is just quite fantastic for slicing. And I think it would be awesome as a skinner. A little bit of a big blade for a skinner. Most people want something like this CRKT Mossback Hunter, 3-inch blade. But some people like the bigger blades for skinning. Gets a lot done, especially if you're processing a big animal. So just love this blade on the Espada. And I talked about it earlier, and we'll kind of compare real quick, but it's very lightweight for its size. Now, I know I kind of talk about the measure, the standard is like 1 ounce per blade inch, right? And what I love about the mini grip is it's like 2.87 ounces. Let's get the nifty scale out real quick. I believe it's 2.87 ounces or something like that. 2.72. And this has a 3-inch blade. So I think that's awesome. And that's kind of my standard, is 1 ounce per inch, right? Well, this is going to be off, but in comparison to other blades this size, 9.35 ounces versus 9.77 ounces. So it's not that much lighter, but it's, I'd say it's almost 1 ounce lighter. And look at this. It's nearly the same weight as this, and you're getting 1 inch more of blade, a lot more reach. So I think I forgive it the ounce per inch kind of rule with a knife like this, because you do get a lot of reach with this. So you're kind of, especially if you use this as a fighting knife, if that's what you're into, you're getting like 9 inches of reach. And so 9 inches of reach, 9 ounces, I think that kind of works out well. So I think it's quite light, actually, in comparison to other blades kind of in this category. So yeah, I really quite like that about this blade. So what do I not like? Guys, I was going through things and I was trying to think about, okay, what don't I like? What don't I like? I don't think there's anything I don't like about this blade. I think it's fantastic. There's just not anything I can think of. The kind of gripes I've had with the models that Cold Steel has like this with the solid G10, they've taken care of the G10, everything's smooth. The issue I have on the aluminum one, when it's half open and this kind of slides, this pin right here slides in and out. I'll show you guys real quick. You can hear that. You only hear it when you kind of do it like that because there's not as much pressure on that pin. That does not happen on this blade. No worries at all. There's just not anything I can kind of say about this blade that I don't really like. Honestly, if I'm being candid with you guys, if you're, like a knife fighter, if that's kind of, you're into that martial blade craft kind of thing, I'd say this is probably a better option for you. It's about half the price, more grip, more traction. You're obviously not really worried about edge retention. Ideally, you never have to use it. And if you do, you only have to use it once. So keep your blade sharp and no worries on that end. And plus, AUS-10 is a perfectly acceptable steel. It's a good steel for kind of its price range. So I think this is probably a better option for you. More traction, a little bit more lightweight. You just feel more confident, I think, having it in hand. And it's also got kind of a slimmer profile. And that's one thing I will mention as well, is it's more carryable than this guy. It's just slimmer, easier to fit in pocket. And so I quite like that about this. There's not really anything I can say bad about the Espada, large Espada in G10 and AUS-10A. I think it's a fantastic knife. And so what's unique about this blade is you're getting a full-size Espada, but for nearly half the price, and still with good materials. Yeah, it's not S30, and it's not a gorgeous. Let me get the fingerprints off this thing, because boy, does this catch fingerprints. It's not S30, and it's not polished G10. It doesn't have kind of that shine and that wow factor, maybe necessarily as much. Still has a wow factor because, well, look at it. But you're getting that full-size Espada for about half the price, and I think that's fantastic, and I think that's super unique about this blade. Guys, this is just one of those blades I can't find anything wrong with. I really like it. I love it. It's an absolute recommend, along with a lot of the other blades on the table. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see me review, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.